welcome back. Today I'm here to talk to you all about our latest Capsule Wardrobe box. So without further ado, let's jump on over to the overhead camera and let's take a look at what was inside this month's box. So we have our beautiful reel of Gutterman Sewalong thread, colour matched to our fabric so we can get sewing straight away. We have a 1/4 metre of G700 black fusible woven interfacing. We have the brand new Tilly and the Buttons Erin Dungarees pattern. Absolutely beautiful pattern. That can be a long length dungarees, a cropped or a short option. And then the fabric in this month's box is this beautiful viscose gabardine twill in wine. Now there's 4 meters of this fabric in this box and you can just see that beautiful twill weave in there, giving it a little bit of interest rather than just a plain fabric. And the weight of this fabric is really nice. Going to be beautiful for a nice dungarees. Would also be perfect for trousers, shorts, anything where you want a little bit of fabric that's going to protect your modesty and hang really nicely. The pattern this month is the brand new Tilly and the Buttons Erin Dungarees, and the reason that I've picked this pattern is, as always, is the size banding is absolutely fantastic. So from a UK 6 all the way up to a UK 34, that's a 30-inch bust all the way to a 60-inch bust, so it's really inclusive. As I mentioned earlier, we've got those 3 variations, so you can go short, cropped or regular length. Now, dungarees are so comfortable, and once you've made a pair you'll never look back, but I can appreciate that you may have got this pattern and gone, it's not a pattern that I would choose. But that is absolutely fine. Stay with me, trust me on this. Once you've made them and you've tried them on, you will be a total convert. Not only are these great for kind of wearing out as comfortable clothes, they're also great for utility uses. So, you know, think about when we are doing odd jobs around the house, we're out in the garden, they're just really good all-in-one item to just throw on and get jobs done. So without further ado, let's get the instructions out and let me talk you through any little bits that I feel you may need a little bit of help with. So I have gone ahead and got all of my pattern pieces cut out of my fabric. I just want to draw your attention to the trouser leg pattern in case you've never come across this in a garment pattern before. You have just got 2 pattern pieces that you need to tape together. So front leg part 1 and front leg part 2, and all you're going to do is match the triangle up, tape those 2 pieces together. If you're familiar with PDF patterns then you'll be aware of that, but if you've never come across that before, that's just a little demonstration and you do that on both legs. So I have cut out size 6 in this version, and I have cut out the lining in exactly the same fabric as I'm making my outer, because I think sometimes, certainly if you look at the back of the dungarees, I think if it's in a lining fabric it can be really noticeable, and I really want to avoid people looking inside the garment, so I've kept it exactly the same. But if you wanted to jazz yours up a little bit with a funky lining, then please do go ahead and cut out the lining pieces in a different fabric. A cotton would be absolutely fine. I've got a size 6 and I've done the full version including the lining, so the pattern here says that I would need 3.6 meters, and I've sent everybody 4 meters in their packs. I got all of my pieces and my lining pieces cut out of 2 meters. Now I have been doing this a very long time. I will refold fabric, move pattern pieces around, but that is something worth noting, that if you are an experienced sewer then you may get away with a lot less fabric than what is instructed in the pattern booklet, but I will address that with caution. Please don't take that as gospel. Like I say, I will refold fabric, reposition fabric, and if you haven't been doing it for as long as I will, then you won't get yours out of 2 meters. So we've got our front bib here, so we've got our main fabric and our lining fabric. So as I said, mine is in exactly the same fabric. On the main outer, what we're going to do is we're going to do a row of stay stitching around the armhole, and then on both sides, and then with the lining piece what we're going to do, we're going to trim that down by 2mm, tapering out to 0 at here. So by that, what we mean, if we move that piece out of the way, so 2mm all the way around, and then by the time we get up to the top, we're not cutting anything off this section here. So we're going to do that with our bib front and our 2 side bibs as well, exactly the same. So what I've done to the front bib and the lining of the front bib is sewed those 2 down there. But what I would say at this point is if you've got a ham, it's really handy to press those curves, because as you'll notice as you pin them to sew them, there's a slight bend in the fabric. So you'll find it much easier to press them over a curved item, so these hams come in really handy. So if you haven't got one and do want one, I'll pop a link below to them. Just makes pressing that front bib a little bit easier. So now we're going to get our front bib and our back bib right sides together. We're going to sew those down, and then we'll do exactly the same with our lining pieces. Okay, so what I would say is what we're doing now, if you've been following the instructions, is piecing the outside of the garment and the lining together at the same time. So I really want you to stop and read through those instructions, because it can get a little confusing. I think it would have been better if the instructions had been written to do the main outer of the garment and then got you to construct the lining. So it was a little bit clearer. So I'm just going to stop here just to make sure that you're on the right page, okay? So you've got your main garment here. So you've got your front, which is the centre panel and the 2 side panels. And then you've got your back. And we've sewn that together down the 2 side seams as well. We've now got our facing piece here with the interfacing on, right sides to our front bib, and our front bib is the one with the seams, okay? So that is your outer fabric. And then over here I've got the lining fabric, and I know that this one's my lining fabric because I popped 2 pins in the piece that was going to be my lining, because I'm doing mine in the same colour. We've constructed it in exactly the same way, so we've got the centre front and the 2 sides, our back bib sewn together at the 2 side seams, and now the piece that you want on here is the front facing that isn't interfaced, okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. So just really stop, think about, right, I've got 2 pieces, I've got 1 lining, I've got 1 main body, and just slowly work yourself through the photographic instructions in the booklet. Okay, so now we just need to construct the final part of our bib. So I just wanted to lay mine out just so you can check that yours is all in the right place. Again, there is photographic instructions in the booklet that comes with your pattern, so do refer to those as well. Now I have chosen to finish all of my seams, even the ones that are inside. The pattern book says you don't have to, but I just like to. So I've attached my straps to the back yoke of the interfaced piece. So we've got that right sides out, and then we've got our lining piece, which is this piece, remember the one that I popped the pins in. We've got that turned so that it's right sides facing inwards, and we've slotted the lining piece over the top of our main piece. So one's inside the other. So in theory, you've then got your 2 right sides together, and we're going to sew that all the way around as in the instructions. Okay, so we've sewn that all the way around, and then I've turned that the right way around and give that a good press. I've done the edge stitching all the way around, and then I've also stitched the lining and the main fabric together all the way around as instructed to do so. So it's starting to look really good, isn't it? So I've done the option where I've got the ties coming over, and we're going to pop some buttonholes in there. You have got the option with 4 ties, so as I've put 2 ties here, then you would just put another 2 ties at the front and tie up. So don't be put off if buttonholes aren't your thing. And now I'm going to move on to the trousers. So the trousers then, the construction is very much the same way you would make any trouser construction, and the detailed instructions do talk you through that. So you would sew down the 2 side seams of both legs, and then turn them round, pop one leg inside the other to sew around the crotch, and then all we do then is put the pocket bags on as the instructions and attach them to the waist all the way around. Now what I have chosen to do with mine as well is run a row of top stitching down the bottom seam and along the top seam just to help that sit a little bit smoother. And then I've gone ahead and done a 1-inch turn up, just finish the seam and sewn that down. So now we've got the all important buttonholes to do. So at this point what I would do is I would recommend getting some spare fabric just to double test your buttonhole feature on your sewing machine. If you have done the option where you have got your ties at the front and ties at the back, then your dungarees are finished. But if you haven't and you've just done the back option, then we need to pop some buttonholes in the front, so let me talk you through that now. So I've got some scrap fabric and I've tested the buttonhole feature on my sewing machine, and then I'm just going to check that it is the right size buttonhole for my straps to go through, and then we would just tie those on the finished dungaree. So that's how it would look, and I'm happy with that. I think that's going to be the nice right size buttonhole. So I'll take you over to the machine now and just tell you and talk you through the steps that I used to get this buttonhole sewn. Okay, so this is my buttonhole foot. They all look much about the same. There may be some differences between machines. So it comes in 2 sections. So you have your bottom section and your top section, and that is where you slot your fabric in, and it just holds it and stops it moving around. You have a section here to pop a button in. So if you are doing, you know, regular buttonholes that buttons are going to go through, you can just extend and see what size you want to pop your button. And then this section here is the section that goes where your foot normally goes, and it moves to sew the buttonhole here. You've got a handy little guide on this one for where the bottom of the buttonhole is going to be. On your machine you should have a little pull down. So if you come down here, can you just see that little white switch there? So that just pulls down, and you need to do that before you start sewing your buttonhole. That just engages it. So your foot just goes on there, and then as you are sewing your buttonhole, it will move. So let me grab my fabric and let's get that in position, and I will talk you through sewing the buttonhole. Okay, so I have got my dungaree wedged between that bottom metal section and the buttonhole foot. I've got my buttonhole lever down, and I've selected the buttonhole feature from the stitch menu on my sewing machine, and then all I'm going to do is put my foot down, and then the machine is going to automatically sew that buttonhole for us. There we go, so the machine does it all. I just was holding the dungarees just to take the weight out, and then you can snip your thread. And there is your completed buttonhole, so you just need to measure and do exactly the same in the same place on the other side. And then we have a little buttonhole stomper just to cut the buttonhole. I'll make a link to it in the comments, or you can pop a pin in the end and use a stitch ripper and rip up to the pin. It's entirely your preference, but I will go ahead and do that on the other side. So there we have it. Those are the 2 completed buttonholes. So I hope you can see from that demonstration that buttonholes aren't as scary as you may think they are. As long as you've got the foot that goes on your sewing machine, then away you go. Just make sure you do practice on a bit of scrap fabric first, just to get the hang of that. So I'm going to pop this on now and show you what the completed make looks like. So here they are, the finished dungarees. What do you think? Absolutely love the colour teamed up with this Breton stripe t-shirt. I'll just give you a little twirl so you can see them in all their glory. So there we have it. Now what I will say is this pattern is roomy, so do take care to note what size you're going to make. So from my body measurements, the pattern said that I needed to make a size 9, But as I always say in any of our sessions, always have a look at those finished garment measurements, and I got away with making a size 6. They are that kind of nice loose feel for kind of getting stuff done, but I could easily get away with making a 5 if I wanted them a little bit more fitted, a little bit more flattering, so do bear that in mind. The leg length on these is something that's really interesting. I made the full length leg and they are far too short for me to wear as a full trouser, so I'm going to roll mine up with some trainers just to get away from that. The buttonhole feature on the front with the ties, that is a really nice addition. You've also got the option where you can have them tied up on the shoulder if you didn't want to tackle those buttonholes, and then this nice little seam down the front. So yeah, can't wait to see you in yours. I will just change the camera angle now so you can get a little bit of a closer look at that leg length, and then I will come back to you. Okay, so this leg I have rolled the trousers up, just folded them up twice just to give a nice cropped look. This leg here, the right leg, is just regular length, and I would say that is really more of a crop length leg. The trousers are nice and roomy, so really nice and comfortable coming into spring summer. But yeah, I think I will definitely wear them rolled up twice with some white trainers. I hope you've really enjoyed making your Erin Dungarees with me. I can't wait to see you in yours, so do make sure you tag us on social media. And until next time, see you soon.